I just got back from blackmailing my way into the Nothing 3 phone launch event. Let's talk about it. To quickly address this phone launch, I have no connection to Nothing. I'm not sponsored or affiliated. Really, I was the least qualified person to be there. I was half expecting to either be served a legal letter upon my arrival or to be beat up by someone for almost leaking the phone. But that didn't happen. So I showed up surrounded by journalists and influencers and, general important people. So thank you, Lewis and the Nothing team, for having me come out. Even though you didn't have a choice. Nothing has always been known for their product design, balancing affordability with good software and a proper standout design that you're not going to see anywhere else. Now, this is nothing new for Nothing in their design language, but it seems this time that the fans themselves are actually divided on whether or not this phone is any good. Nothing for the first time is taking a swing at the flagship phone market, and even though it may be underpowered with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 4, double checking that that's correct, it's actually coming in slightly under the price of the average 6.7-inch flagship phone you would see in the US. But at $799, what is this extra cost actually getting you? Most notably is the new design. Gone are the iconic glyph lights on the back of the phone that you could use for notifications. I know a lot of people found it gimmicky, but I actually genuinely enjoyed using it. Now, I was in no way a put your phone face down kind of person because that's how you scratch a screen. But with the Phone 3a Pro, I found myself actually turning it face down because I was able to dramatically cut down on screen time while still staying connected to my notifications. So when I saw the new Phone 3 design, months before I was supposed to, more on that later, I was disappointed, just like every other Nothing fan. The glyph lights are iconic to the Nothing identity and have people come up to me all the time asking me what case I'm using or what kind of iPhone I have whenever they see the flashing lights on the back. Now, I'm not fully on board with the removal of the glyph lights, but after playing with the phone at the launch event, I can say I'm cautiously optimistic about the new glyph matrix. I do like the implementation, and it's not just like an ROG phone copycat with their little LED lights. I also thought it was probably just going to be a little OLED panel that they were simulating a matrix with, but it actually does look like they're using individual LEDs to make this matrix array on the back. Along with this new glyph matrix, they've also included a force touch button on the back of the phone to increase its functionality. And when you pair this with the new glyph matrix SDK, anyone can come in and make new tools or toys to put in this little matrix that anyone can interact with and download. I think that's a great way to involve your community in your phone, which is something Nothing has always been fairly decent about. And ultimately, even with the removal of the iconic glyph lights, it still looks like a Nothing phone. It just looks like a true generational redesign rather than a year-over-year update. Samsung. But while we're on design, let's talk about those cameras. The people I talked to were not happy with that periscope lens placement. It's a very aggressive use of asymmetrical design, and personally, I really do like it. I think had you actually lined up the lens to be square with the rest of them, you would have had a pretty generic looking layout of buttons and dots on the back of the phone. That little lens offset just gives you just enough unbalance to really pull you into the back of the phone and look at it rather than just go, oh, it's a grid. So I actually am totally here for the periscope placement. The cameras do seem very similar to the Nothing 3a Pro, with the exception of the ultra wide, which has been bumped up to a 50 megapixel lens. The sensor has changed on the periscope lens, which I've simultaneously heard from people at the event that it is worse than the 3a Pro, while also being sharper. Additionally, I did read that even though it's a smaller sensor, because of their camera processing, they are able to get better results. When I was playing with it and playing with the macro feature, it really did seem like a wash. I couldn't tell much of a difference, but without actually having my hands on the phone, I can't actually do a real in-depth look at it. That said, I do love the 70mm on my 3a Pro. I'm in love with that lens. It looks so good. Because of the size of the sensor, you're actually getting some kind of separation. If you look at this picture here, that's not computational photography blurring the background. That's because the sensor is big enough at 70mm that you actually do get separation and background blur on your subject. With that new periscope lens, I am excited that they're actually punching through the PCB to place that optic. Now you don't have a huge camera bump on the back of the phone, which genuinely might actually be a reason to upgrade, because I can't put this phone down on its back. And I know I said I put it down like this now, but I still also put it like this, and then it just wobbles. One issue I have run into, at least on Nothing 3a Pro with the periscope and main camera lens, is that when I'm focusing it near infinity on an object, it'll often miss that object and focus to infinity. If I switch it to manual mode, often I can bring it back one tick on their focus meter, and then it's in focus and sharp. But based on the reviews, this seems to also be an issue on the Nothing 3 as well. Fortunately, when I went to the store and brought this up, they immediately opened a ticket and sent it to their team to look at, and hopefully it's something they can fix with software, because I don't think it is a hardware bug. It just seems to be an issue with the focus forcing algorithm. Other than that not so smallest issue, I actually really like Nothing's camera hardware and processing. I know a lot of people are saying it's overprocessed, they don't have enough shadows, but a lot of the time with smartphones, I just want to be able to take a picture and immediately throw it up without a lot of editing. And that heavy-handed processing is very good for social media. Most people want to look at something that's more punchy than desaturated, even if it's not as artistic. The other thing I do love about the phone is when I'm shooting, I often like to shoot about a stop underexposed with exposure compensation. And with Nothing's presets, you can just set up a button, you click it, it opens your camera, and it's shooting mixed 50 megapixels here with a -7 EV on it. And I don't have to do any manual settings to change it to that. It's just set up and ready to go out of the box. With that, there's actually community presets you can download to farther optimize the camera, and I would love to see Nothing actually lean into this from a color profile standpoint. You're able to upload 3D LUT files to the camera to really adjust the look, but because there's no built-in way to set up those LUTs, it's a little clunky and not super intuitive. My hope is that they can take an approach like Fujifilm with their film recipes, or like the 3D LUT button on the Lumix cameras, and actually implement that into their phone. It would really open that up to their community and do a lot more to get an even cooler look out of camera without having to go through a bunch of photo editing, which I don't want to do on a phone. So Nothing, if you're listening, please make those community presets easier to find in the phone. Either link to them when you hit add more in the camera app, or give us an actual menu to search through if we want to add a community preset. Additionally, I think expanding that 3D LUT capability to really allow for community camera looks and film simulations would be a huge win, because it both takes some of the color processing off the team, as well as really creates more of community around the color and the capabilities of the camera phone, which is a huge proponent of why Fujifilm is so successful in consumer photography right now. I'm under the breath on that one. Now, we can't talk about the Phone 3 without addressing the flagship naming and the price. And though I do agree that Nothing has misstepped here, it's not for the same reasons that most people are talking about. At $799, Nothing hasn't actually broken into that ultra flagship pricing. If you go to a lot of consumers who are spending $1,000+ on iPhones every year, they don't want to think about what they're losing. When they see a $799 price tag, they think, oh, it's cheaper, it's probably not as good. And in this case, technically it isn't. Nothing has cut corners on the Gorilla Glass and on the processor and a handful of other things to keep that price down to make it more obtainable. But in the US, all that does is make people look away from it. Okay, I just wanted to take a second and address this because I think this is a very hot take and I was in a bit of a mood when I recorded it. I'm not actually advocating for more expensive smartphones. I just think currently, even with the slow trend towards more affordable phones in the US, there's still a really big user base for that $1,000+ iPhone and Samsung phone, and by Nothing pricing at $799 and cutting some features, they've completely alienated their base user base that likes that mid-tier price without actually capturing that ultra-premium US market that I think they were trying to go for. So I think had they just gone ahead and gone for that $1,000 price range with no compromises, they would have actually seen better adoption and attention in the US outside of just the general marketing they've already had. Now, obviously, I'm not a marketing expert or analyst, so I don't want to claim that this would have been the correct move, but just from the perception I have in the US market and the consumerism we have here, pricing the phone higher with slightly better specs would have yielded a better or more favorable reception to the phone as it currently stands. Other than that, there's not a lot more I can talk about from my hands-on experience. The Essential Space is getting an update to expand its functionality. It has IP68 dust and water resistance, which is great. It has a 5,150 milliamp hour battery, but they're saying it gets more like 5,500 milliamp hours. But never mind all that. Let's talk about the reason you actually clicked on this video. The Nothing Headphones 1, and I think they look wild. I don't know how often you'd see me wearing them in public, but I do genuinely really like the look of them. They kind of look like a tape deck got pushed into like an AirPods Max. In terms of the usability, I did find them really comfortable. They were a little heavy, but they were also tethered to the table, so I don't know how much of that was the actual headphone weight and how much of that was the tether. The cushions were super comfortable, and the active noise canceling actually seemed pretty serviceable for how loud of an event I was in. But one quick 2-minute demo doesn't really give me a good understanding of how good that noise canceling is without comparing it to something like my Bose or my XM5s. Now, the comfort and design is there, but I did have an issue with the headphones, and it's the same problem I have with the XM5s. The default sound, even though tuned, seems really muddy at the expense of all the high end. There's no clarity. It's really bass heavy, but not a clear bass, like you're actually listening through water. Fortunately, this can be easily fixed because Nothing seems to give you more control than any other headphone brand I've seen to balance out the EQ. And after you do that, it saves it to the headphones. So if you go over to a device that doesn't have the Nothing X app on it, your profile's still saved and it still sounds good on whatever device you're on. I didn't actually get to use it with the app, but I do hope they also implement the hearing test, because as someone who does have hearing loss in the high frequencies, the Nothing Ears hearing test that I hadn't seen before on another headphone actually did a great job of balancing out the levels, so music just sounded way more rich and full to me, even with that loss of high end. And that auto adjustment after the hearing test on the Nothing Ears really did make me a huge Nothing fan for their audio products. Okay, now for real. How did I blackmail my way into the Nothing event? Well, it all starts with this picture. So in May, I was traveling with my partner on our honeymoon, and on our last day, I sit down on the train, and none other than Carl Pei sits down 3 seats from me, facing me. Now, I start fangirling and want to talk to him, but he doesn't look like he wants to be bothered, so I don't talk to him, as you should. But I do put in my nothing ears, these are the ear opens, and I'm just like, hey, you should notice me, because I'm wearing your product. Please say hi. He doesn't. It's fine. I'm not bitter about it. But then, like it was staged, he whips out the phone 3 and holds it like this. Just fully exposing the back. Just like, hey, somebody take a picture, you should see what it looks like. So like any good nothing fan, I took a picture and freaked out even more. My partner was like, what is going on with you? And I'm like, it's nothing. And she was like, okay. So for the next 6 hours, I'm freaking out, like, what do I do with this? Do I leak it? Do I send it to someone? This is a company that made a YouTube video about how they faked a leak. But as I was thinking about it, I was like, wait, no, they're a small company. I genuinely really like nothing. But someone has to know I have it. So I decided to send it to their marketing team just to be like, hey, look, I have a picture of the nothing phone. I'm not going to do anything with it unless you want an early news cycle, then I will leak it. And Lewis, who has been absolutely lovely this whole time, responds, no, please don't leak it. Would you like to come to the nothing launch instead? And unfortunately, being US based, I was like, I would love to, but probably not. Don't worry, I'm not going to leak it because you guys are too great. And then after lots of back and forth, I decide I do want to go, find a great price on a ticket. And just to end the story, I decide I am going to go to the launch. And it was unbelievable. I got to meet several members of the Nothing team who were just all wonderful and so friendly. And the food was genuinely the best I had while I was in England. I also got to hear the story of the behind the scenes of what happened when I actually sent them the photo and the scramble that ensued afterwards. But I'll leave that story for another time.